Hi. I know it's been, I think, over a year since I've made a YouTube video, but my boyfriend Ryan has been begging me to make one, and I'm feeling motivated tonight, so I'm going to make a video. This doesn't involve ghosts, like a lot of my other videos have, but it is kind of scary. At least it was scary to me. This is a story of the time I think Ryan and I were almost killed camping. And I know that sounds extremely dramatic, but as someone who listens to My Favorite Murder and watches a lot of murder shows and knows how things go, I think that we might have almost been murdered that night. So it was last September. Ryan and I decided we were gonna go. Ryan is my boyfriend, which I explained briefly at the beginning, but now we're really getting into it here. Okay, so he's the only other character in this. So just know, me and Ryan, my boyfriend, we were camping, all right? So Ryan and I went camping last September. We went to Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado. He and I went up to the mountains and we set our tent up, and we took my parents' 10-person tent, and we were living in luxury. Like, this thing was huge. We put our mattress just in one corner of it, and then we had all this other space to just like walk. Like, we could just walk all night if we wanted. So we set our tent up, and then we ate our food and had a fun little night, and we were drinking and making s'mores and looking at the stars. You know, it was perfect. And we had to go lock our food up in the little bear safe, because bears get to the things at that campsite. And so it was also during like the elk mating season, I guess you would call it. I don't think you would call it that. I think that's what it is. So they were all making their like scary like elk noises, right? We get to bed, and we went to bed like relatively early. Like, I don't know, there's not like a ton to do camping. I don't know if you've ever camped before, but we went to bed at like a decent time. That's irrelevant. I don't know why I told you that. But anyway, I went to bed, and I want to say it was like 1 in the morning. Ryan like nudges me and wakes me up, and he goes, "Gabby, there's someone walking around our tent." And I'm the paranoid one. I'm the one who's always like thinking something is going wrong, or someone's out to get me, or like, I don't think logically. Like, my first thing I think of is, oh, they're gonna kill me, or oh, that's a ghost. And so he's the one that grounds me a little bit. And so he is the one that's like, no, it's, you know, it has to be this. But he didn't go there. He immediately was like, I think there is a person around our tent. And so I was like, okay, wait, what? And he's like, stop, be quiet. And I was like, okay. We start talking, and we're like, okay, we hear footsteps, but let's think of our options. Is it like a little animal? Is it like a chipmunk? Okay, I was just interrupted, so if it looks like it's just a cut, it's because it is. Is it a bear? Is it an elk? And so we start like filtering through what we think it is. But I think footsteps are kind of distinct between a human and an animal. And so like an animal would have like you know, or like and then feet are more like, right? Thank goodness I described those differences, because there's no way you guys would have known that on your own. We realize like this is not an animal, because when we're hearing these footsteps, there's a generator that goes off on like in the distance. It goes off in the distance. So every time the generator would start running, the footsteps would get closer to our tent. Whatever this was, it was really smart. It knew what it was doing. It was able to walk closer when there was outside noise. And so when we would start talking to each other, the footsteps would start moving also. So it knew we were awake, it knew when we were talking, all this stuff. But they would be quiet when it was dead silent. I get like anxious talking about it still. It was so scary. I don't really, like, the only thing I could think of to do is to get up and take a hair tie and hair tie the two zippers together, which it's kind of stupid, but it's also not, because when they would try, if they were to try to pull on the zipper, they wouldn't be able to unzip it because they would be stuck together. And so if this person actually wanted to hurt us, obviously they could just like cut the tent or they could get in super easy, but it caused some sort of resistance that could put them off from just unzipping it. So I quickly like grab a hair tie and I run to it and I tie it and I run back into the bed. Probably like an hour and a half passes at this point, and I'm not sleeping, he's not sleeping, and we're both just panicking. About an hour and a half into it, whoever is outside of the tent is still circling, and sometimes they would like brush up against the tent, and we didn't have service. I tried to look at my phone to see if I could like call 911 and tell them to come or anything, but we did not have anything. We didn't have service, we didn't know what to do. We didn't bring a knife or anything with us, so we just like had whatever was heaviest, which was like 2 big flashlights, and then I had my keys in my hand because if we had to run, we would have sprinted to the car. I was like shaking this bad and I couldn't control it because I was laying there and I thought I was done. I thought we were done and I didn't know what to do. And I almost started crying, and Ryan was like, it's okay, we're gonna be okay. And we hear outside, the person throws a rock. There is a big boulder next to our tent, and you're able to like stand on it and look over the edge a little bit, and you see more tents down below. And it's probably like 2:30 at this point, and this big boulder, someone that was outside throws a rock at the boulder, and we hear it and it falls, and it's just like a little rock. And we look at each other and we're like, oh shit. And then they throw a second one. And we were like, oh my gosh, we're getting mocked now. They know we know. And it's very apparent. So we're trying to decide what to do. And we're just like laying silently trying to figure it out. And I think probably another hour goes by. And we hadn't heard anything for about half an hour at this point. After the rocks, it kind of stopped. And there was no footsteps or brushing up against the tent. And Ryan looks at me and he goes, we have to go. We have to make a run for the car. We can't keep doing this. And so we grabbed what we could, and I told him to unzip our window to see if we could see out at all. So we unzipped the window and there's nothing, like we can't see anything. So we grab everything and we sprint to the car, and we left all of our blankets and all of our sweaters and everything, and we're just in the car, and we turn it on and we decide that we're going to go drive over to the ranger station. So we go to the ranger station and we park in the ranger parking only. We decide this is the best option because one, if a ranger comes out, that's great. We can tell the ranger what happened and we can figure things out. 2, someone's probably not going to screw with a car that's in the ranger parking because you're going to think, oh, maybe that is a ranger's car. So we park there and there's a really bright light above us, and I mean, it was just, it felt a little comforting. I don't know. We stayed in the ranger parking that whole night, and then the sun finally came up and we were like, okay, we need to go back, we need to get our stuff, and we need to get out of here because I'm not hanging out here anymore. So we go back and we go to pack up our things, and I wanted to look around the campsite to see if there was anything strange, and there was. Carved into the ground was like an A, and I'll put a picture here because I took a picture of everything. Then our tent. No one went into it, and that was obvious. But when we went to go pack it up, the corner that our bed was in, where I think at least how I usually camp is like my head's up near the tent instead of my feet, but Ryan wanted to be able to look out the window, so we had our feet facing the tent. Right where the ends of our feet were, a big rock, probably like that big, was thrown, and you could see the mark of the rock on the tent, and it was thrown right there, and the actual stake was like ripped out of the ground, and it was wrinkled, and the night before we got there it had rained, so everything on like the surface was dry, but underneath the rocks it was still moist, and so, why did I use that word? It was wet. So we took like this rock, whoever threw it, they took it and they threw it, and there was like an outline, and it was kind of wet right where it was thrown, which realistically is where the person would have thought our heads could have been. So whoever this was, their goal, I don't know what it was, but once we had left, they thought we were still there, and they tried to throw a big rock that probably would have knocked us out right where we were sleeping. And we packed that tent up, and we got all of our other stuff, and we left. This is unbelievable and hard to believe, that means the same thing. Those mean the same thing. But I was interrupted again. But pretty much, to sum this up, since it's going to be 900 years long, that was really scary. I think we were almost killed or hurt or something. I jumped to killed, but I guess killed is not the only option. But I think someone was like weirdly out to get us. But thanks to my favorite murder, thanks to murder shows, thanks to being paranoid, we survived. All thanks to me. Just me. I'm the only reason. And next time, if we ever go camping again, which we probably might not ever by ourselves, I can't say, but if we ever do, I will have a weapon that's legal. It'll be a legal weapon, okay? The moral of the story is, 1, maybe don't go camping, but 2, if you go camping, bring a weapon, and 3, become a heavy sleeper so you don't wake up to footsteps and don't scare yourself the whole night. I think those are just the only reasonable morals to this entire story. So thank you for watching. I can't guarantee that I'll be making other videos. In case you really desperately want them, please comment below if you would like some more videos. I need the support. Okay, bye.